Well, welcome to another show at Florida's Great Northwest. I'm your host, Larry Sassano, and my guest today is actually Becca Hardin, the president of the Bay Economic Development Alliance. But I wanted to introduce Parker McClellan, the airport director out here. Parker, thanks so much for letting us use the airport today.
Absolutely, Larry. We'd love to be part of the community, and we're big proponents of economic development.
Well, so you see, we're here with Parker and the airport in the background here. So it's kind of exciting filming right here at the airport, and a lot of activity going on. I want to thank you for joining us today. We'll be right back, okay? Thank you.
Our commitment to the community is something that we believe in and act on every single day. It's a key part of our culture and who we are as a company.
Cox donates millions of dollars in cash and in-kind services to support local nonprofit and civic organizations each year. We recognize that a healthy community is a growing community. Here's a look at just a few of the organizations we support right here in Northwest Florida.
We're extremely proud of all these local partnerships.
Together, we are working to make the Gulf Coast thrive.
Severe weather can destroy a home in seconds. There's no time to think, only time to act. Have a kit so you're ready for any emergency. Develop a plan for what you and your family will do before disaster strikes, and stay informed during severe weather any way you can. It can be the difference between losing your possessions and losing your life. Just ask the owners of this house. Visit ready.gov for ways to prepare your family for emergencies.
The average text takes your eyes off the road for nearly 5 seconds. Stop the texts. Stop the wrecks. Visit us at stoptextsstopwrecks.org.
Hi, welcome back, and I'm your host, Larry Sassano with Florida's Great Northwest. My guest, Becca Hardin from the Bay County Economic Development Alliance. And today we're going to talk about some sites, which I thought was really fascinating, because oftentimes when I have a guest on, we talk more about the guest and what they're doing and their work, but you want to focus on these industrial sites, which I think is fantastic, and it will give good exposure to Bay County and some of the wonderful sites that you have here. So we've got a little noise in the background, folks, please excuse that, but let's start off by talking about your background. Before you came to Bay County to be the president, what were you doing?
Well, actually my experience has been in Columbus, Georgia. I'm so proud to be here and part of your team and part of the Bay County team.
Okay.
But I spent almost 14 years leading the economic development efforts in Columbus, Georgia, in a 7-county bi-state economic development region. And during my time there, I was very fortunate to be part of Team Georgia that helped recruit Kia Motors America to Georgia, and also was involved in bringing manufacturing back to the U.S. with a large NCR manufacturing project that came to Columbus.
Well, you had some experience working with Pratt & Whitney too.
Yes, very true. Pratt & Whitney has a large engine rebuild shop in Columbus, as well as a forging center. They have close to 1,000 employees there, so a lot of what we did from a recruitment standpoint was bolstering the growth of Pratt & Whitney in the area.
So your experience really in the aviation aerospace sectors is really, you've got that background to make you feel real comfortable in this area where we've got a lot of military.
Absolutely, and I was very fortunate with our partners at Pratt & Whitney and the divisions within Pratt & Whitney. They taught me how to do the international air shows. You know, it alternates between Farnborough and Paris. I've been doing that show, this will be my 8th year.
Wow.
And it's a hard show to do because it's so big and it can be so overwhelming. But through my UTC and Pratt & Whitney contacts, I've been able to get enough relationships that I can schedule appointments before we go, so that I'm not just walking the halls. I have specific appointments that I can showcase our great product to.
I'll tell you, Becca's got a great style of marketing. I really admire it, I really do. Being an old economic developer, when I see someone like yourself come in with a certain approach and style of your own, I applaud that. So I know you're going to do great here and be great for Bay County. Let's talk about some of these sites now. Venture Crossing is the first one that comes to mind. And tell us a little bit about this site. Who owns this site? about the size of the site and so forth?
Well, Venture Crossing is right out here. It's here at our airport campus. We've been very blessed with our partnership with Gulf Power throughout an initiative that they launched this year. They contracted with McCollum Sweeney, which is an international site selection firm, and they've been working with the communities in the Panhandle area to what we call certified sites. And a certified site means that it's clear, it has appropriate zoning, it has all the utilities. So basically a company could come in and turn dirt today because it's ready for construction. It's an accelerated ready site, which helps the time frame and helps cost for a customer that we're working with. The Venture Crossing site is 192 acres, and it was one of the first McCollum Sweeney certified sites in the Gulf Power program. And we're very excited about that. We are actively showcasing that, obviously because of the assets of the proximity near the airport. We do have one company that's already located in that park, a company called Excelis, that is a large defense contractor. And we hope that building on the momentum that Excelis is starting in that part of the airport campus, will be able to build on that momentum and help recruit other companies near them.
I want to tell you, Venture Crossing is quite a site, and we've actually been out here with clients looking at that site for a possible location. So having it by the airport here, what does that really mean to a company?
Well, it's very important. I mean, we are optimistic, well, we're confident that the properties around this airport are our future from an economic development standpoint. You introduced Parker at the beginning of the show. He's a critical part of our team going forward. We have available sites in and around the airport property now, but if you look at the vacancy, we've got thousands of acres that we can continue to grow and create an aviation center of excellence for this part of the Southeast, because we're so centrally located. So a lot of our marketing efforts right now are targeted toward the properties that we have in and around the airport campus, because we really do believe that this is our future.
You know, we were, Becca and I were in the MRO show in Miami last week, maintenance repair overall, which I think from what Parker told me and some of the other airport representatives, that MROs are really critical for growth for airports. And you know, with the Venture Crossing as one of the sites we're talking about, did you find that of great value to you as you were marketing last week?
Absolutely, and it's so fun to be an economic developer when you have a great product to sell. Yeah. It's hard to sell your community if you don't have a product. Absolutely. And in Bay County, we have excellent product. So as Parker and I met with companies at the MR show in Miami last week, we met with about 20 companies one-on-one. And we were able to show them specific sites that are adjacent to our 10,000-foot runway. That is very rare product, by the way. We're one of the few communities in the Southeast that has a product that has runway access. So as we're meeting with presidents of companies and we're showing them our presentation that has maps of the properties that we have, it's quite impressive, because they know when they need to make a business decision, they can look at our sites and be able to move very quickly.
Well, you know, a 10,000-foot run, that's a long runway. You can fly just about anything in and out on the runway that length.
You can land a shuttle here.
Yeah, exactly. So did you find, and some of the companies that you met with last week and in past, that runway is a factor for them for consideration? Oh,
it's critical, and it's such a great asset for us. I'm so excited that we have that in our inventory. And I'll tell you, one of the things, we kind of revised our marketing strategy in aviation. If you look at where Bay County is, we're centrally located between a lot of the aviation OEMs, original equipment manufacturers. We've got everything that's going online in Mobile with Airbus. We've got the continued growth of Boeing in South Carolina. Gulfstream in Savannah, Georgia has undergone 2 expansions recently. And then Embraer is in Jacksonville. You mentioned Pratt & Whitney, which is in Columbus. Pratt & Whitney also has an operation in West Palm Beach, Florida. So from a logistics standpoint, we are very centrally located. But working with Parker and our leadership, what we've identified is that what makes sense for us is not the big boy, another Boeing or another Airbus type project. We're going after the MROs, which may be smaller projects, could be 100 employees, 10 million CapEx, capital investment, because that's what makes sense for our community. From the product that we have, from the workforce product that we have, and we feel confident that we can get some good hits, because those MROs are going to have to supply the original equipment manufacturers throughout the Southeast. There's going to be a need to be right here, and we're ready.
I'm so glad you said that. I feel the same way, and I know that Parker had said that to me as well, and other airport representatives, that that's the market for our region. We don't necessarily think we're going to attract a Boeing, but we can attract a lot of those support service, those suppliers, those MROs. I think that's our forte, and I'm so glad you're saying that.
Yeah, we definitely have a very, I tell folks that we have a very laser-focused strategy on the types of companies that we feel make a good fit for Bay County. It's not an across-the-board approach. We're very specific in targeting companies that make sense for Bay County and companies that we want that will be good employers. I tell you another factor in our recruitment strategies is that we have the whole picture. We have the properties at the airport, but we also have an international port. And you know, as we talk to companies, whether they're aviation related, automotive related, manufacturing related, if we can find properties for them to put distribution or manufacturing, and they have import export raw materials or products, we have the port that can do that with direct line access to Mexico, Central America, South America, and now when Cuba comes online, we'll be ready for that as well. So the fact that we have ready properties at our airport, the fact that we have an international port, those are products that not many communities can say that they have, and we've been hitting those two aspects very hard.
Well, we're talking about the port and the factor that you have a lot of infrastructure in place here. Let's talk about the Intermodal Distribution Center as well. That's also a certified site.
That's great. Yeah, that's correct. That was the second site that was certified with Gulf Power and the McCollum-Sweeney initiative. We actually have a 50-acre site that is flat as a table and ready for construction today. And again, that's an attractive feature because it eliminates cost and speeds up the time frame. But you know, the leadership in Bay County has been so progressive as far as their economic development efforts, and they've put their money where their mouth is. This IDC, Intermodal Distribution Center, is a great example of how the Port Authority, the city, and the county pulled up their bootstraps and invested in the future. That we were running out of land at the port for growth, and we knew that to continue to utilize and maximize the benefits of the port, we needed to buy some property that had access to the port. We have a short line rail that runs to the port. This property is on a major 4-lane highway, Highway 231, going right up into Alabama. The property is right on the Bay Line and right on the 4-lane highway. So from a logistics and transportation standpoint, it's absolutely perfect. And that again is another one of our parks, which is our future. We're actively showcasing that for manufacturing and warehouse distribution. The port built a state-of-the-art concrete tilt-up wall warehouse that is 100,000 square feet that we have leased to a supplier of a manufacturer here in Bay County. We are in talks with the authority about doubling the capacity of that warehouse. And we're also in talks with some other developers that can help us put together design, build, leaseback scenarios for companies that we're working with that may need a presence in that park, but may not want to own their own facility. So we're bringing a lot of different development ideas to the table so we can be flexible and be creative to meet the needs of the customer with that park as well.
So I can see when you're working with Wayne Stubbs from the port, how important it might be to interact with a company that may need the port services using the rail, but not be at the port necessarily, could use that particular park for that purpose.
That's exactly right, and that again is an asset that sets us apart from the competition because not many communities have that. You know, they may have the port, but they don't have the property to grow, or they may have the port, but they don't have rail access to it, and we've got all of that in a nice package.
Could you just briefly explain intermodal for our audience? I think that term has been used so much. We use it freely because we understand it, but how does intermodal really work in terms of what you have here in Bay County?
Well, it works for us. It's actually the largest piece of property that the Port Authority could find, contiguous property that was in close proximity to the port and it had rail access. It's 15 miles from the port and it's about 20 miles from I-20. I-10. So essentially located, so from a logistics standpoint, that's what you mean an intermodal facility, that from a logistics standpoint is close to major highway systems, it could be close to a port, close to rail, and then obviously with truck traffic it needs to have easy ingress, egress to be able to get in and out of there.
So you got all the really transportation modes taken care of. You got the air, you got the rail, you got the water, you got it covered.
Yeah. Yeah, I tell you, if I could just say one thing that is a great asset that I learned about Bay County when I came down, that I'm trying to let everybody know, because this again is another factor that sets us apart, especially from an aviation standpoint. Working with Haney Technical School and our local school systems and colleges, we have a federal aviation FAA approved A&P mechanics training program here in Bay County, airframe and power plant mechanics. That is very, very, very difficult to get. We tried for years in Columbus in support of Pratt & Whitney to get FAA approval for an A&P program locally, and we couldn't get it. The fact that we have one here is a great asset. We mentioned talking to companies at MRO in Miami. When we tell people that we have that training available here so that we can send people through and have an immediate workforce, their eyes light up, because it's very difficult to get and there aren't many communities that have that. So that is a key tool in our toolbox, that we've got great property and we have the appropriate infrastructure in place to train the workforce that can meet the needs immediately for these companies looking in our area.
And I'll tell you that A&P technicians and that certifications, having that available at Haney, that you're right, that is a real plus, because there aren't many in the region that can offer that. And the type of companies you're attracting and targeting are the companies that are looking for A&P mechanics. You're right.
Yeah, and then we have a great partnership with Haney. We have an Embry-Riddle campus here. Obviously, we have great military retired workforce that we can pull from. Everything that we've partnered with Gulf Coast State College, and also Florida. We have Florida State University here, Troy University here, and so
that's your alma mater.
And my alma mater, yes. But all of those partnering with everything that we've got going with the K-12 system is critical. It's a critical component for us to be able to sell our community, because you can have all the product in the world, you can have every incentive in the world, but if you can't answer the workforce question, you're never in the game.
Right. That's so true. Yes, that's critical. Well, let's move on to our third, where we're at. Wow.
Yeah.
The airport sites. Now, we're on the airport here. We've got Southwest behind us. Let's talk about these airport sites. We talked about it with these other two certified sites. How critical, and let me put it another way, what percentage of your prospects really want to look at an airport site?
Well, from an aviation standpoint, if you can showcase a runway site, that absolutely puts you like 10 steps ahead of anyone else, especially if it's an MRO and they need to fly planes in, take them apart, fix them, and then fly them out. I mean, that's a great advantage that we have. Currently, right now, we have 3 sites that are adjacent to the runway. I will tell you that just this past year, we had a great announcement with Edge Aerodynamics, and they're a company that has a patented technology that goes on the aircraft wing that helps with fuel efficiencies. We're talking to them about building a hangar on one of those sites. So we feel that once we can get cranes in the air and show that we're actually under construction with one hangar, that'll help us market the other sites. To the north of the runway, we've got 350 acres that have access to the runway that is being permitted as we speak. So as far as sites that have access to the 10,000-foot runway in our future, it's that 350 acres.
Wow, that's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, you and your team do a marvelous job. I have to tell you, from the perspective of
progress.
We love that noise.
Sounds of freedom.
That's right. From the perspective of a regional organization, Florida's Great Northwest, your professionalism when you're working projects is what people like to see. Every time I see one of your proposals, it's first class.
Thank you.
And I know that means so much to you and Scarlett and Polly, but I want to tell you that on camera that we're very proud of the way you work.
Thank you.
Let's talk just a little bit more about the airport sites and that wonderful 10,000-foot runway. That's a great asset. 350 acres to market. You can pretty much attract some of the larger companies too.
Yes, we could. And we do, like I said, we do believe that is our future. and working with Parker, the Airport Authority, and our local leadership, we're going to be furthering our economic development strategy and exactly what we want to try to see on that property. And then, you know, when that property's full, we've got several thousand of acres adjacent to it. So, you know, that's what we feel, that for long-term growth, this is a gem, this is a jewel. When we tell people that we built this airport in 2010, it's a brand new airport, they can't believe it, because you don't build new airports anymore. Yeah, sure. So much of what we're trying to do is relationship building and communicating to people the assets that we do have with the airport, with the port, with our training, and let them see the whole package.
You know, the other thing, we talked about aviation, aerospace, and a little bit of defense. What other targeted industry sectors are you going after? I know there's others besides aviation.
There are, and it's not to say that those are the only targets that we are going after. Obviously, with the certified sites, anything manufacturing we're looking at. We've talked to a couple of automotive companies. There's a lot of traction in Mexico right now in the automotive industry. As a matter of fact, the automotive industry in Mexico is going to probably double in the next 5 years. So working with the Port Authority, Wayne Stubbs, we're starting to talk with automotive suppliers about property at the IDC and about using the port to bring products in and out. So we think automotive is absolutely a place that we need to be looking as well.
Yeah, I believe that, don't you think that all these sectors, manufacturing, logistics, aviation, auto, they all kind of tie together anyway? They do, and then, you know, you can look at all the growth that's happening in the Southeast, aviation, automotive, the huge OEMs looking. There's going to continually be a need for suppliers for those big boy projects, and you know, again, Bay County and Florida's Great Northwest is very centrally located to be able to capitalize on both of those markets. You know, it's interesting, Becca, I think I told you this last year when we put together the meetings for the Farnborough Air Show, this year Paris Air Show, we were able to get Ed Gardner and myself 22 appointments. We did not have a difficult time getting those appointments at that show because of the recognition of Florida's Great Northwest and the counties in our area here. You know, I think that what we're doing together and the other 15 counties is working it's really working for the first time that I've seen it in the years I've been here. Good. You know, I'm a regional advocate. I spent my career with the 7-county region up in the Columbus, Georgia area. You know, you can get to the table many, many more times as a region than I can, you know, just going somewhere by myself. With the show we did in Seattle is a great example of that. Meeting with the Boeing suppliers, going as a regional effort, really gave us that extra clout that we needed to have some substantial meetings there. You know, getting your support on our approach on a regional basis, you know, I think a lot of times I get asked, you know, well, how do you work with the local economic developers? How do both of you work with the state of Florida, Enterprise Florida? And I explained to him, look, it's a team effort. You know, we're partners, and we know our role, and we don't want to get in the way of what the local economic developers are doing, because, you know, you're the one who really brings that prospect to the table to make that decision. So I think that understanding of how our organizations work together is so helpful to pass on to the public, so that they see that we're not in conflict. You know, we're a family, and I want to do things that's going to help you, and I appreciate your support. Yeah, but strength in numbers, and what works for Pensacola may not necessarily be right for Bay County, but we certainly have similar assets and attributes that we can partner and be successful as a region. Well, I'm glad that you're here in Bay County. I know that you feel great about that. We feel great having you here. And I have a couple last questions I want to cover. Let's talk about, just briefly, the Paris Air Show, which is coming up in June. And what are your expectations for that particular show? Well, it's a busy show. As a matter of fact, I've already started working on setting appointments. It was very helpful being in Miami last week at the MRO show, because I was able to have some initial meetings there, and then I'll have follow-up meetings in Paris. The aviation industry is an interesting dynamic. It is a huge industry, but it's a small industry.
you run into the same folks, and you get to build relationships by having repeat meetings. So I'm already starting to work on setting appointments in Paris. Obviously, a big target is Airbus suppliers with the Airbus project coming online, and really just meeting with some of the folks that I've been meeting with regularly over the past 8 years. We have a new product to sell. I have a new product to sell. The properties here in Bay County, and it's going to be fun for me to go and just tell them what we have, and hopefully get an interest for them to come visit us.
Yeah, I think that your approach with the way you're targeting, you're going to continue to attract the right type of companies for Bay County. You got the product, you got the infrastructure, you got the workforce, you got the training programs, and you got a great team.
Yeah, we do.
So I think you've got the right components. There's no reason whatsoever that you cannot continue to be successful. So, we're going to help you any way we can. Get out of your way and make sure that we let you do what you need to do to be successful.
We look forward to a long relationship. Great success.
You've been watching and listening to Becca Hardin, President of the Economic Development Alliance in Bay County here. And of course, we're at the Northwest Florida Beaches International Airport. So I thank you for joining us. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you can hear us through all that, but it's wonderful noise for us. Becca, thank you so much. Thank you for joining us.